Hi, I'm Bob Nystrom.
Hi, this is Bo Dietl.
Hey, this is Rich Big Daddy Salgado.
Hi, this is Don Goodney, and you're watching Sports Biz.
Sports Biz.
Sports Biz with LD.
Sports fans, this is Sports Biz with LD.
Welcome to Sports Biz with LD. I'm your host, Larry Davis, on the Friday before the Super Bowl, brought to you by the Daily Blue. Do not want to waste any time. Marc Raimondi, assistant editor of the MMAfighting.com. Mark, how are you, buddy?
What's up, Larry? How's it going, man?
It's going great. I mean, listen, I'm here in the snow in New York, and you're hanging out in Vegas, so I guess you might be doing a little better than me.
Just a little bit. I know you guys got hit pretty hard. I heard back some friends back east, and wasn't a great week for the tri-state area, huh?
You know, I got to tell you, thinking about the snow, it's all over the place in mounds and mounds. But it is nice in a way when, of course the weather people are always wrong, but that they know ahead of time, and then, like the Monday, everybody rushes home, and then you got Monday, you're not allowed, you can't leave the house Tuesday, so you really get a whole day to really hang out and do nothing because you can't. So in a way, that one day isn't so bad.
I grew up in New York, and I dealt with snow for about 30 years, and I decided to move out west. It's been a good decision so far.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's move right into it. The MMA, which is, growing and growing and growing, and Dana White doing such a great job with it. You guys have a big show in Vegas tomorrow night at the MGM Grand. Tell us a little about the show, and some of the names are more, at least for me, who's not the big MMA guy, but is more of a lot more household names. So give us a rundown on the card.
It's a really big show tomorrow night in Vegas because, primarily speaking, Anderson Silva, who is the greatest UFC champion of all time, he's coming back from a very, very serious leg injury. He broke his leg in December 2013. I'm sure you guys saw it. It was on every sports show pretty much. It was on ESPN. Yeah. It was on, it was on Fox Sports. The replay over and over of the guy, going for a kick and his leg, basically shattered. It was a horrific spectacle. The video was just circulated widely, and it was really awful to watch. And he was like screaming, in the cage after the fight, and he was in a lot of pain. And everyone thought at that time that he was done. He was 38 years old at the time. He was getting up there in his career. His prime was was over, and now to have this happen, it's a very difficult thing to come back from a compound fracture of your leg. And especially in a sport where you use your leg to kick. It's a combat sport. It's fighting. It's one thing to break your leg and then come back and play basketball. Where you're running, you're jumping, but you're not getting kicked in the leg, or you're not doing kicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this guy Anderson Silva, this was December 2013. This is only 13 months ago, where everyone was saying, "There's no way this guy's gonna ever fight again." What an awful way to end an incredible career. He's the greatest UFC champion of all time. He held the middleweight title for 7 years. He won 16 fights in a row, and he won 10 title defenses in a row. And both of those are UFC records. No one is even really that close to those records at this point.
And then, Mark, out of nowhere, Chris Weidman, who's from right here in New York, right here in Long Island.
Yeah.
I mean, now, who's Chris Weidman, right? Comes in, and he's the one who broke his leg and beat him up?
Well, the man who beat him, who beat Silva and ended his 7-year unbeaten streak, was Chris Weidman from Long Island. He did it in July 2013. He knocked Silva out. He won the belt, and then the big rematch it was in Vegas in December 2013. Only 6 months later, and Silva went for a kick, and Weidman in MMA, the way to defend a kick is to check it. It's called checking. Basically, you just lift your leg and try to get the hard part of your shin on your opponent's leg as he kicks you. And Weidman did that, and Silva's leg went like Jello, like it cracked.
Right.
in two. His shin bone cracked in two. It was just a devastating thing to watch. I mean, it's disgusting. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It was very hard to watch. And for all intents and purposes, this guy probably should not have come back. Doesn't need to come back, but he's had a miraculous recovery. It's only 13 months ago that this happened, and now here he is about to fight in another main event in Las Vegas in this very same arena where he broke his leg.
Right. Well, it's a main event because he's in it. I mean,
it's actually a great sports story that isn't getting a whole lot of buzz in the mainstream sports media.
yeah, you're probably right. And now he's coming back against a gentleman named Nick Diaz, which I mean, I never heard of him. I'm sure he's not the big name, but this is what Anderson needs to do to get another fight with Chris Weidman. Is that the whole idea of it?
The way that they're billing this fight is, yes, if he wins on Saturday night, he will get a rematch against Chris Weidman. Now, Chris Weidman does have a fight in February in LA against eidtor Belfort, so Weidman would have to win that fight to set up a trilogy fight against Silva. And Silva has to win Saturday night. It's not gonna. He's a favorite, as he should be, because again, despite the injury and despite him being 39 years old now, he's still the greatest of all time. He's done some really incredible things in the UFC. But Nick Diaz is a very tough guy. He's never been knocked out in his career, which is Silva's forte. Silva is a knockout artist, and Nick Diaz has never been knocked out. He's very durable. He's very tough. He's a really tough guy from the streets of Stockton, California. Real tough, like street fighter type of guy. And it's not going to be an easy task for Anderson Silva. It's a tough matchup for a guy who maybe needs a few minutes in there to get your feel back. He seems to look good in training, but when you break your leg and then 13 months later you're in a cage fighting another man, you're going to need a few minutes to kind of compose yourself. And Nick Diaz is not the kind of guy that's going to give you a few minutes. He's going to be right in your face. He's going to be throwing punches. He's a good boxer. He's a violent fighter. He's a guy that pressures and comes forward and is tough and takes punches and gives punches. So it's a really, really, really intriguing style matchup. And also has a really cool story behind it as well. And
then also from Long Island, you got Al Iaquinta on the fight card as well, correct?
That's right. Al Iaquinta is a training partner of Chris Weidman, the UFC middleweight champion. They train at Saralongo gym. That's in. There's actually a couple locations. There's one in Baldwin, and there's one in East Meadow.
I thought they also train at my buddy Chris Cardona's gym, Belmore Kickboxing. No.
That's another really good gym. There's a lot of good UFC fighters from that gym.
Yeah.
Long Island it has become a hotbed of MMA over the last couple of years. And Iaquinta is one of the next guys who has a chance to become a star. It's a really big fight for him against Joe Lozon from Boston. He's a veteran. He's been in the UFC for a really long time. He's one of the more exciting, popular fighters in the UFC. And a win over him would really be a nice feather in Iaquinta's cap. It would really kind of propel him to start him a little bit. He'll get a really big fight after this fight if he wins. I was talking to his coach, Ray Longo, and he was just saying this is really going to be his Iaquinta's breakout year. 2015 is really going to be his year. Chris Weidman broke out, 2013. He became the first champ from not the first champ, but the second champ from Long Island in the UFC. Iaquinta could be on that path, this year.
We're speaking with Marc Raimondi, assistant editor of MMAfighting.com. Mark, is this their Super Bowl? I mean, it is around the Super Bowl. It's the night before the Super Bowl. I mean, does the sport have that sort of crescendo on the tour?
It doesn't have anything. There's no off season, and there's never really anything like set in stone where this date is our championship date. Typically, the July 4th weekend in Vegas is the big weekend in the UFC. They have a whole week of it's called International Fight Week, and they bring in a lot of the international guys, and they have a fan expo, and usually have two fight cards, one on Saturday night and one Sunday night. That's really that's the weekend that Chris Weidman has fought the last couple of years. He beat Anderson Silva on that weekend in 2013, and he beat Lyoto Machida to retain his title this past July. So Weidman has typically fought that weekend. And most likely, if Silva wins Saturday and Weidman wins in February, they will probably do that third fight, back in Vegas in July. Of course, a lot of things have to happen, for that.
Well, let's get into it. So
this weekend is it's a big weekend. It's a big fight weekend for them. They always do a Vegas show on Super Bowl weekend. So they have one of their biggest stars, against another very popular fighter. So it's a pretty big deal. But the month has been very big for the UFC. It's arguably been the biggest month ever in UFC history. Just last weekend, they had a show in Sweden, and they did 30,000 people in a soccer stadium out there, which was their second largest attendance ever. The week before that, they had a big show in Boston.
Yeah, let's talk about, Mark, let's talk about Sweden for a second, and then I want to give you in the minute we have left, one-on-one predictions from you on the fights. But one quick thing, what happened in Sweden? I heard there was like a fallout with the UFC on Fox. Tell us that a little briefly, what happened?
What do you mean?
There was some sort of fallout or something. The UFC on Fox, was there a problem between them and Fox televising it or something?
No, nothing like that. It was, it was on Fox, and Fox, has the television rights to the UFC in the U.S. But one thing that was odd was because the show is in Sweden, and it was on Fox, it had to be in prime time in the United States because it's on the big Fox network, and so in order to be prime time in the States, it had to start like pretty much very late in the night into the early morning in Sweden. I think the card started at 10 o'clock and didn't end until about 4 a.m. Sweden time.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of weird for the fans in Sweden, but 30,000 of them still came out, and their guy, their Swedish hero, Alexander Gustafsson, actually lost. He got knocked out in the first round, so it was a tough night overall for the 30,000 Swedish fans at 4 a.m. having to deal with their top fighter losing like that.
Well, as long as they were still selling liquor and beer in the stadium, I'm sure they were okay. Let's get your predictions before I let you go. Is Anderson Silva winning?
Yeah, he's gonna win. He looks good after the injury. This is a good style matchup for him. Outside of the first 2 minutes of the fight, where I really think that you're gonna find out, really what's gonna happen for the rest of the fight. I think that he's gonna be okay. The style matchup fits well with his style as long as he's mentally ready. Mentally, sharp. And coming back from this horrendous injury, I think he'll be fine. He should win. He's a heavy favorite.
All right, and what about
because he's just a scrappy, tough dude. But Anderson Silva, by all accounts, should win tomorrow night.
And Alan Quinto will win as well?
I like Iaquinta a lot. I really think that he's an up and coming guy. And the funny thing is, he does some sparring with Chris Algieri out there, in Long Island, and
the boxer.
Coach Raimondi told me yesterday that he could actually be a professional boxer if he really wanted. He could actually go into boxing and do quite well. So yeah, I really think that I think he's gonna be. This is a breakout year for Iaquinta, and I think he's gonna win tomorrow.
Marc Raimondi, assistant editor of MMAfighting.com. Appreciate your time, and we will definitely have you on in the future. Thanks again, buddy.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Okay. Wow, there's a lot there, a lot going on with UFC fighting. People love it. People come from all over. The pay-per-view numbers are big, and, it's on Fox, and you got to watch it. And it's nice to see some guys right here in New York and Long Island are getting involved big time and winning, especially with Chris Weidman winning. I mean, that was huge. Let's move on because, again, it's the Friday before the Super Bowl. What else do you really want to talk about? Let's talk about the Super Bowl and Deflate Gate again. Here we are a week later, and I had said last week, I was like, where is Robert Kraft? Where is the owner of the Patriots who should be talking about it? And he's saying that after they do their due diligence, if they find out that the Patriots did nothing wrong or weren't responsible for what happened, he expects an apology from the league. I mean, I would agree with that. I don't know where Robert's going, why that's the focus, but it just seems that everyone's press conferences, all everybody just does is dance and not answer the questions. I mean, okay, Robert, so you'll get an apology. But what if you did do something wrong? You already had Spygate. You already been fined $500,000. And I don't remember what you said at that press conference after you paid. Did you say you didn't do it even though you paid the fine? Well, Bill Belichick paid and you probably paid it for him? What does that mean? We should apologize to him and apologize to Belichick and apologize to Brady. Okay, so what's going to happen the other way? That would be my question. So what if you're found guilty? And again, you could say you didn't know anything about it and Belichick and Brady, but you guys are still the three bosses. Brady touches the balls, Belichick runs the team, and you run the franchise. All under your watch, no matter what happens. What happens then? Yeah, there's also a photo that circulated before the AFC Championship game that you had a big party. And there's a great photo of Commissioner Goodell and you taking a photo together and having fun and all that. And people feel that maybe Roger Goodell, because you guys are buddies, would lean towards, giving you a pass. I don't agree with that at all. I don't know what the big deal is. You've come out and said about that party that the commissioner office used to pay for the party and then they didn't, so you took it over. I don't know why they wouldn't pay. I mean, that makes so much money. Again, it's only a $9 billion business. But so your team decided to pay for it, or whoever the AFC Championship team is, I guess, pays for the parties. That's great. I mean, life is to have a party. But I don't think that's a problem. You taking a photo with the commissioner. Why not? He works for all the owners. You guys have built a friendship. That's fine. It's a great Italian line. It's business, not personal. So as long as Roger Goodell, which he did a couple of years ago with Spygate, can make the right decisions. If you did something wrong, again, we're on uncharted waters because I don't know where this fine, if it's true, ends up. I mean, they don't know what to do. But you also, just to think about it, you go back to Spygate, why did Goodell get rid of all the tapes? He destroyed all the tapes from Spygate. That's another one. Maybe that if you brought up that you guys said they had a great relationship, like why would he do that? Why couldn't we have seen that? I mean, I'm surprised on the way to the garbage, TMZ didn't grab it because they pretty much get everything. But that's dominating this whole Super Bowl, Deflate Gate. Is it a shame? Not a shame. It is what it is. Everyone's always looking for something to talk about, and this is what happened. And if the Patriots lost, we wouldn't be talking about it as much because they're not in the game. But they are. So I don't see anything wrong with them having a relationship. I agree with Mr. Kraft that if his team is found it had nothing to do with it, which I'll find it very hard to believe. I mean, who else would touch the balls? You guys are got to be responsible. That's just the way it goes. You're the owner. You got the coach, and you got the quarterback. Those are the three people that, there's something needs to be done here. Last week I was very, stern on what I would do. $1 million fine, draft pick. Yeah, pretty strong. It's not allowed. That's what it comes down to. Whether you made a mistake and it really didn't help you win, it's not the point. Not allowed to touch the balls. Okay? Don't touch their balls. Don't touch my balls. Whoever's balls they are, you're not allowed to touch them. Let's move on to who probably moved up to the number one figure at the Super Bowl for not saying anything is Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, who all year long did not talk to the media, was fined, and then he was told by the NFL that if he doesn't talk at the Super Bowl, for Media Day, which is a huge event. There was over 5,000 press passes where they have all the players in there. The bigger name players are on a little mini stage by themselves. And then when you're a lesser player, they put two guys together. And again, over 5,000 people get credentials and they can ask you the stupidest questions. Everybody's looking for a story. What'd you have for dinner last night? Why do you only eat that? I mean, whatever crazy question they can come up with. But Marshawn Lynch took center stage here of the way he answered every question that was brought up to him. Rob, roll it. Let's see what Marshawn Lynch said every time he was asked a question.
Settled into the podium. We will listen in live here on NFL Network with Beast Mode.
When do my time start? Oh, it started? Well, then let me start. Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined. So y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to. I'm going to answer with the same answer, so y'all can shoot if y'all please. I'm here so I won't get fined. 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 I'm just here so I won't get fined. I'm just here so I won't get fined. Hey, I'm just here so I won't get fined. I'm just here so I won't get fined. I'm just here so I won't get fined. Here so I won't get fined. Hey, I'm just here so I won't get fined. Hey, I'm just here so I won't get fined.
You gotta love it. You know, I'm here just so I won't get fined. I mean, he's got a couple of endorsements out of that. Imagine. He's got commercial endorsements out of him saying, I'm here just so I won't get fined. Love it. But on the other hand, it's wrong. He's supposed to talk to the media. Now, Roger Goodell and his office was threatening to fine him $500,000 if he doesn't speak. So now you threatened him and told him that if you don't talk to the media, it's going to $500,000 fine. So now he does it. It's not that difficult what Commissioner Goodell needs to do now. Now, at the press conference I listened to Goodell, which I could have just did a whole show on this press conference. What a joke. The commissioner did his Friday before the Super Bowl press conference. They asked him all the questions. And let me tell you something, man, that guy is Fred Astaire. All he did was dance. Every question, and the problem with all these press conferences is the same person who asked that question can't ask a follow-up question. They go on to the next person. Why? When he dances around and doesn't answer your question, my immediate reaction if I'm asking the question is, but that's not what I asked you. You didn't answer the question. So let's use Marshawn Lynch. They asked him the question. And what did he say? He did, well, I'm going to talk to my people. No, the follow-up question is, Commissioner Goodell, you said you threatened him with a $500,000 fine. He ended up doing what you told him not to do. Now, why are you standing here saying he's going to be fined $500,000? What is there left to talk about? This is why you have these problems. You need a committee to discuss that, Commissioner. Commissioner, this is such an easy decision. You threaten someone, and if you don't go through with the threat, then what do you got? This is a no-brainer. It's a $500,000, Marshawn. Thank you. That's it. You could have said it right there. Commissioner, you need to show people you're a commissioner. This is the worst year, of course, of your career. This could go down as one of the worst careers of any commissioner in any sport. You know, probably up there with the years like in baseball and hockey when they canceled the season. Because that is, I don't think there's anything worse. I don't think there's anything worse than canceling a season and the playoffs and what. So you're right up there with them, and you didn't cancel a season. The Ray Rice debacle, which I didn't even hear anyone ask about that, to Richard Sherman saying, the great cornerback of the Seattle Seahawks, who said, if we're supposed to talk to the media and be available all the time, and he's cool with it, because he's definitely created a whole image and he's got plenty of endorsements from it, so where's the commissioner? So they asked him that question. And unfortunately, by the time I got it, we couldn't get all this, because this would be perfect, and I'd play you his answer. His answer was, I'm always available for the media. That's my job. I'm here. Commissioner, for the Ray Rice incident, you were an ostrich. No one heard from you. No one's heard from you in weeks now in the Super Bowl. Nobody heard from you all year after the Ray Rice. And now, where are you? This is the first time we're hearing from you since the Super Bowl? First time anyone's hearing from you since Deflate Gate? You're the commissioner. You know, before this year, you were out at every game, talking to everyone. The world was great. You were acting like everyone else here. Oh, when it's not good, things aren't going good, you want to hide? Unfortunately, it's unacceptable for you to hide. Just like the players. Marshawn Lynch is the only guy saying, I'm not going to talk. Every time there's a problem with a player, the writers go up to the guy's locker, and he's got to talk about it. He's got to talk about it. Why don't you have to talk about it? Richard Sherman is 100% right. You're the commissioner. They don't have to make the owner talk all the time. The GM's on a little, but the head coach talks all the time. I don't know why they only make the assistant coaches only talk once a week, but that's for another show. But the commissioner should be there all the time. You should have a weekly address. Why not? You should be on the NFL Network once a week. Why not? You should be on Sirius Radio once a week, the commissioner's report. Why not? You would have if they brought this up to you last year. Before this year, you would have done it. You love the publicity. You love being in front of everybody. And of course, everybody loves it. When everything's going great, you want to talk to everybody. Richard Sherman's 100% right. Where is the commissioner? And now the commissioner, your league's also saying, You're thinking, or you might find him Marshawn Lynch again if we show him wearing the beast mode hat. Wasn't wearing an official NFL hat. You got to find him. What is the fine for that? And fine him. We're going to wait for everything's going to be answered after the Super Bowl with Deflate Gate. And Deflate, last week when we did the show, as of last Friday, you still never spoke to Tom Brady. They said you guys spoke to 40 different people. Who? What 40 people you got to talk to? The referee who hands the ball, who checks the balls, then he hands the ball off to who? Whoever he hands off the ball to, that's the person you need to talk to. Very simple. There you go. That person, and that person, if they hand it off to someone else, if they did, who's that person? And then how's it get into Tom Brady's hands? It doesn't seem like you need 40 people. I don't get it. But you have no answer. And if this was during the season, would you suspend the Patriots? And if it took you a month to find out, it was the beginning of the season, would anyone be suspended? There's so much here and so much dancing by you at the Super Bowl press conference you did today that was a joke. I don't even understand why you had a press conference. And it's a joke that you continue to get away with it. That all the people in the media doesn't do a follow-up question. The media guys should get together, and instead of asking their question, they should say to their buddy, listen, if he doesn't answer your question, I'll do the follow-up question. Instead of having their question, what's the difference? Someone's asking about games in Mexico. Someone's asking about, different punishments and different. Get the 5 questions. There wasn't many questions we needed answered. And, of course, here at the commissioner's press conference, we got nothing accomplished. Last year's Super Bowl had over 111 million people watching. The last time Patriots were in the Super Bowl was 110 million when they lost to the Giants. This Super Bowl, because of Deflate Gate, I think is going to end up being the most watched. And yeah, it continues to get higher and higher, so you could argue it would have got more too. But I think that the not fan who, listen, we all go to the parties, and 80-90% of the people at your house aren't watching the game unless their team is in it. It is a party. It should end up being a national holiday. It really is it is a national holiday, but it's not been done yet. But this Super Bowl could get that extra, and I believe it will because of Deflate Gate, because it was on CNN and MSNBC, and all these other news channels were talking about Deflate Gate. Ticket values are anywhere from $500 to $1,500. It's not that big of a hot ticket. When I was always going to these Super Bowls and thinking about selling the tickets, I always waited till Friday, Saturday. That's really, you can sell them earlier, but, I don't know what you're getting out of it. This is when they're really, if they're hot, they're hot. If they're not, they're not. They're not hot 2 weeks ago. Unless they're 2 new teams in, you get new flux of money. Patriots have been around. Seattle was there last year. Seattle was the big ticket last year because everybody wanted to come to the Super Bowl because it was the first time Seattle was in it. Now they're in the second year in a row. It didn't really, it matters, but it's not as big as it was last year. Some company bought a block of 40 tickets on the Pats sideline for $200,000. Offered $600,000 a week later. That's on the sidelines. That is an experience. Is my prediction. If you're watching the show all year, my prediction was the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Isn't that great? I picked the Pats to beat San Francisco. San Francisco, as you recall, lost in the championship, the NFC Championship game to Seattle last year. I really thought it was their year to take over. That ended up being a debacle with Colin Kaepernick and Jim Harbaugh, and it ends up the 49ers didn't even make the playoffs, and Jim Harbaugh is now at Michigan. So I stick with the Patriots. Of course, the Patriots will win 27-20. That's my prediction. Thank God that I picked the Pats, at least one of the teams, to be in the Super Bowl. It's amazing how quickly it goes. There's so much to talk about. We'll be back next week. Sports Biz with LD. I'm your host, Larry Davis.